Thank you so much for joining in. Testing, testing. We're good on audio. Testing, testing. We're good on audio. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for Border Network News, correspondent for Real America's Voice News and the Wendy Bell Radio Network. Señores, soy Oscar Blue para Border Network News, corresponsal para Real America's Voice News y el Wendy Bell Radio Network. I will do this bilingual. Lo voy a hacer bilingüe. Today we are in the port of entry of El Florido in Honduras. We are in Honduras territory, and we have the whole national. Well, we have a great, group of police, military police, and the civil police doing guard and inspectioning who is coming in a regular documented fashion. I will say it in Spanish. Señores, estamos en el puerto de Honduras, en el Florido, donde el día de hoy la Policía Nacional Civil, en conjunto con agentes de la militar, están inspeccionando que entren los migrantes que vienen de manera regular. Now, it's really important for me to explain something. Es muy importante que nosotros expliquemos algo a nuestra audiencia norteamericana. The majority of the migrants that are coming in through this port of entry are migrants from Nicaragua. La mayoría de los migrantes que vienen por este puerto de entrada, que es el Florido, son migrantes de Nicaragua. A lot of people in the American audience are saying why the National Guard is not stopping them to transit the migrants from Nicaragua, the migrants from Honduras, the migrants from El Salvador, if they're coming to Guatemala. And the answer is real easy. Señores, muchos de la audiencia norteamericana nos ha preguntado por qué el gobierno de Guatemala o por qué la autoridad de Guatemala no detiene a los migrantes que vienen transitando de Honduras, El Salvador o Nicaragua. The answer is real easy for everybody in the American audience. There is an international treaty between these countries in Central America. Hay un tratado internacional entre estos países en Centroamérica. The countries that they are in this international treaty are the next ones: Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Guatemala. Those countries are in this international treaty that is called Free of Transit. Esos países que ustedes acaban de escuchar, que son Honduras, Nicaragua, El Salvador y Guatemala, están en un tratado internacional libre de tránsito que se llama CA-4. The name of the treaty, it is called CA-4. You can Google it and you can find it. So that is why migrants from Nicaragua are free to transit through every port of entry of Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. Also, migrants from Honduras are free to transit from Guatemala, El Salvador, and also Nicaragua. Also, migrants from El Salvador are free to transit in Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. That is a treaty that is called CA-4. Google it and find it out. Señores, por esa razón, mucha gente en la audiencia norteamericana me pregunta y hace preguntas de por qué la policía de Guatemala o la migración de Guatemala no detiene a los migrantes en poder transitar hacia México. Y es la falta de saber este tratado internacional que se llama CA-4, que fue establecido en el 2006, donde los 4 países acordaron que tienen que entrar de forma documentada, mostrando su identificación, pero pues prácticamente son libres de tránsito, como lo vamos a ver ahorita. This is how we are going to look. This is how they're doing their process. Look, this is, they go, the military, they show their identification, they show their passport, as they are doing the regular process. The civil police documents the passport. Señores, aquí estamos viendo cómo entrando de forma regular, documentada. And when they cross, ¿de qué parte, señora? De Nicaragua. ¿Viene migrando o viene de paso nada más?
No, vengo migrando.
Viene migrando. ¿A dónde es su propósito llegar?
Hasta aquí a Guatemala.
A Guatemala.
Sí.
¿Solamente va a Guatemala?
Sí, Solo hasta Guatemala.
Okay, muchas gracias. So she's going to Guatemala only. This is the process with Nicaragua people. This is why you get a lot of people from Nicaragua. As you guys have seen, and you guys are seeing it now, for everybody that does not understand, because a lot of the audience, look at more people are showing their documentation. A lot of the audience, they don't know about this international treaty. It is called CA-4. It is a freedom of transit treaty that you only show your identification. This is applicable for countries in Central America. The countries of Central America who are in this international treaty of freedom of transit, it is El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. This is why you have a lot of migration that is always transitating through these parts. South American countries, countries from South America, countries from Europe, countries from Middle East, countries from Asia, countries that they are not in Central America, they need to be processed and they need to show their identifications, and also they need to register in the Institute National of Immigration. That is what it needs to happen. Señores, lo diré en español, señores, países que no son de Centroamérica, que no están en este acuerdo internacional, tienen que mostrar su identificación, tienen que hacer un proceso de migración, tienen que prácticamente registrarse en la inmigración, like it's showing right here. And it is good that we're showing this for everybody to understand. For everybody to understand. Somebody's commentating, yet the U.S. will, that is ask your president why he has an open border policy. Don't ask these people. These people are in their freedom of transit. They can transit to the Central America. Ask your president why he has an open border. So this is why, the reason why Mexico has a process different process to enter regularly and documented into the country of Mexico. This is why a lot of migrants from Central America are complaining that Mexico, their process of immigration takes too long. And the migrants from South America also complain that their process takes too long. Señores, esto es la razón por la circunstancia que los procesos migratorios en términos de entrar legalmente de manera regular son diferentes en nuestro país de México por las razones que nosotros no estamos en este tratado internacional, se llama CA-4, que fue establecido en el 2006, donde en México no hay este libre tránsito de solo mostrar tu identificación. En México tienes que entrar, aplicar para una forma migratoria múltiple o también aplicar para el proceso de la visa humanitaria. We have the military right here showing how they are being documented. These are people that they're coming from Honduras or from Nicaragua, as they are doing an excellent job. The authorities right here standing the whole day. There comes another massive group. Look at that group. Look at that group. Comes another group that is a big group of migrants that they're coming in. And this is really important for everybody to know. Señores, esto es muy importante para todos que sepan que la migración por este puerto de entrada, la mayoría es de gente de Nicaragua, gente de Honduras y gente posiblemente de El Salvador. The majority of the people that they're migrating to this side are people from Nicaragua, people from Honduras, and also people from El Salvador. They need to register and they need to show their identification because of this international treaty. This international treaty, it is just you're showing your identification or your passport. It is called CA-4. Google it. Google that. If you don't believe me, Google it. So this is how they are processing now the people. You had another family right here showing their passport, as you see right there. CA-4, C as Carlos, A as Arthur, 4 as number 4. That is the international treaty agreement. So this is how they are practically documenting every single migrant that is coming in. You see more gentlemen coming in right here through this particular side. They have to show their identification. The Guatemala government doing an excellent job on processing migrants that are coming from Central America, and also they're doing an excellent job on processing in the most human way migrants that they're not from here. Señorita, ¿de qué partes, de qué países?
Nicaragua.
De Nicaragua. ¿Su propósito de emigrar el día de hoy es ir a Guatemala nada más o...?
Tengo familiares y mi hermano viene a hacer show.
Sí. Tienen esa libertad de libre tránsito con el CA-4, ¿verdad?
Sí, gracias a Dios, sí.
¿Ha visto mucha migración de su país hacia los Estados Unidos?
Sí, lamentablemente pues el país está pasando por una situación, pero gracias a Dios vamos a ver si salimos de eso. Se lo agradezco.
Bueno, muchas gracias. There you have it. I asked her the freedom of transit document that is CA-4. For a lot of people that they're always saying why they're not stopping them, they are in the right of transit. They can transit freely through their country and through other countries. It is an international agreement. So you see people, a lot of people from Nicaragua that they travel to Guatemala. Señores, como pueden ver, hay mucha gente que está llegando de este lado de Nicaragua, que pues prácticamente ven cómo aquí están las autoridades de Guatemala pues haciendo su trabajo, la verdad, de la más, hay que recalcarlo, haciendo el trabajo de la manera más humanamente posible, atendiendo a las personas que van entrando con sus documentos, el oficial diciéndole que se quite la máscara para identificarla perfectamente bien y tratando a los migrantes de la manera más humana posible para que se haga el trabajo pertinente de la documentación y la entrada regular. Nos explicaban ellos que pues cuando entra un migrante de otra entidad, ya sea Sudamérica, Europa o partes de Asia, se hace un proceso de migración, donde este proceso pues prácticamente tarda en realizarse, no se hace inmediatamente, pero son 2 procesos de permisos para poder entrar al país de Guatemala, entrar de forma documentada y forma regular, señores. Eso es el proceso. Vemos cómo las autoridades guatemaltecas haciendo un trabajo excelente de cómo hacer el trato meramente humano sobre la migración de este lado del puerto de El Florido. Vemos cómo está la barricada de oficiales, pues prácticamente haciendo su trabajo y pues prácticamente eso es. Let me address a comment. This is ridiculous. Somebody says in the Facebook, we have no room. Who's asking for your room? These are people that they're transitating freely in Central America. They have an international agreement to transit in their countries. El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. They're transitating in their country. It is extremely important to basically explain how the people have the freedom of transit with an international agreement between them. It is called CA-4. You can Google it. These people are not migrating to your country. They're migrating in the interior of Central America. This is a whole misconception of a lot of the people that they're migrating to Nicaragua, and a lot of people are migrating from Nicaragua to the United States. Yes, but they need to be processed here first in this inspection point, as you are seeing right here. Derogatory comments are really really incompetent comments, like another one. And I'm reading your comments because this is really it's upsetting that ignorance is at a high level. Why don't they just stay here? Looks like they are welcome. They're welcome in Central America. They can transit freely to every country in Central America. I'm apologizing for my level of explanation, but for God's sake, they can transit freely in Central America. They have that ability to transit into Central America. Why you are interfering with their freedom of transit? It is an international agreement between those countries. I'm just saying. Don't get mad. It is different in Mexico. In my country of Mexico, they're not allowed to enter like this. In Mexico, Mexico is not in this international agreement. This is why it takes them so long to enter to Mexico. It takes them so long to enter. The process, this is why multiple caravans are being built, because the migrants think that this international agreement, also Mexico is involved. And that is where they are mistaking. That is where they don't understand that in Mexico, we don't have that international agreement that is called CA-4. So it's so important to show how the authorities, the most important thing is how the authorities are working right here. And this is the whole day they're standing right here. Es muy importante, y lo voy a decir there's a comment. My God, I'm not even going to put attention to that. Es muy importante, let me say it in Spanish, es muy importante que recalquemos que recalquemos prácticamente este acuerdo del CA-4 y que pues prácticamente sepamos de que hay un libre tránsito con este acuerdo que se firmó en el 2006, para que la gente que no sabe de este acuerdo sepa que hay muchísima migración, muchísimos migrantes que transitan por países como El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala y Nicaragua con el libre tránsito. No generalmente quiere decir que están entrando la gente de Nicaragua para transitar hacia los Estados Unidos. Hay una migración que se está dando de nicaragüenses en éxodo hacia los Estados Unidos, pero prácticamente no es la razón y circunstancia. Look, they're getting stopped right here. They're about to show their identification as they're showing their identification, every single one, and they're being processed. César Molina dice: saludos, Oscar. La idea del CA-4 es volver a nuestras raíces como una sola nación. Bueno, es un acuerdo que se tiene, as you see right here, migrants from Nicaragua entering entering the country of Guatemala, documented. Es como ver a migrantes de Nicaragua, pues prácticamente entrar al país de Guatemala de manera documentada. Estamos viendo a las autoridades hacer su trabajo. And as we are looking how the Guatemala authorities are doing their job, and it is so important that we show this, because a lot of the misunderstanding and misconception is that the majority of migrants that they're crossing from different points in Central America are to go to the United States, and it is not like that. A lot of them, they are just transitating to go to another country to visit family, as you just saw a migrant from Nicaragua saying, I'm going to Guatemala to visit my family. So a lot of the misconception of this migration that is coming from Central America is saying, oh, they're coming, they're entering a port of entry, they're coming to the U.S. And no, sometimes it's just that they are transitating freely in their international agreement that is called CA-4. That is their right, and that is their lawful right, as they are obeying their law according to this international agreement between these three countries. They can transit freely through Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. And as you see the officials right here doing a magnificent job documenting and showing the most humane way the treatment for a transit that is documented. If just visiting, why walk? Because a lot of them, they don't have the possibility to own a car like you. Holy cow. My God. Give me patience, Lord. So we have more. This is really important for me to show. And I'm quite quite surprised of the way that the Guatemala government is taking over the inspection of the people that they're transiting. Also, when they're coming down from the bus, the inspection the bus. Look at the officer going inside the bus, inspectioning the bus. You know, and ultimately showing how they inspection the bus. El siguiente oficial. El siguiente camión, ¿habrá una posibilidad que me suba para ver cómo lo inspeccionan? Sí, sí. Ok, next. Sí, sí, sí. No, pero ya ni modo, ya se fue. Está bien, el siguiente. The next bus, I'm gonna hop in with him. They collaborate. They're so nice, man. These police officers, they're really nice people. And I just asked him at the next bus that comes in, can I hop in and see how they're inspectioning them? Somebody's saying, why are all the trucks stopped, Oscar? This is a customs entrance also. So they are entering to another country and they need to be checked also. Remember that this is Guatemala and this is Honduras right here. And it's an international territory. As you can see right here, let me show it to you right here. It says Guatemala and Honduras. It's only a line that is separating both countries. Señores, como pueden ver, en una pregunta me están diciendo por qué están detenidos los camiones. Pues es una aduana, ¿no? También es una aduana y están entre dos países. Thank you so much, Dr. Mark in Texas. He explains that in the message box. It says, the CA-4, let me read it, is an agreement between Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Nicaragua to decrease their internal borders and pull together into one region of immigration. Well, it is kind of like a really concrete explanation, but it is an agreement between them. So thank you so much for joining in. We are live in the border of Honduras with Guatemala. We came over here, the number one reason we came over here is why there's a lot of migration of people from Nicaragua. And this is the reason why. There is an agreement that is called the CA-4 agreement, and these international countries, it is agreement between El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua that they can free to transit into these countries, and they only show their identification or their passport. They document this. As you see, the authorities checking every single person that is coming in. You have a whole line of National Guard officials. You have a line of the government checking documents. You have officials of all types of officials inspectioning and making sure that they're coming in documented. A lot of the migrants that they're coming in from Nicaragua, they're walking from another country, or they have family members in another country. And ultimately, there has been a lot of migration from Nicaragua that they're coming to basically migrate into the United States of America. This is a huge bus that is coming in with migrants from Nicaragua. Let's see what their intentions are. As we saw a lot of them they were saying, oh, our intentions are to just to basically go to Guatemala and visit our family. A lot of these men and families and women, a lot of them, their plan is to migrate to the United States, but a lot of them, it is just to visit their family. So it is good that we are showing this, because a lot of misconception it is being done and misinformation about people transiting in Central America. And I believe that it's fair that we're giving out, is giving out an explanation about this. It's really important that we're giving out an explanation. The United States does not have an agreement of this kind of freedom of transit to just show your passport. You have to have a tourist visa. You have to have all types of documents to enter the United States. Well, in this case right now, you have almost 5 million people that they have entered in an irregular fashion into the United States. So it's not even a process, basically. But ultimately, it shows that it has a lot of lack of border security and also of lack of process. I can tell you right now this looks more secure than other countries, man. The way that they are processing them, it looks way more secure than other countries. It looks way more secure than Mexico. And in some cases, it looks way more secure than the United States. Don't get offended, but I'm just speaking facts. South American countries, need to be, it's a different process for them. South American countries are not in this international agreement when it comes to Venezuela, Colombia, Peru, Costa Rica, Panama, Bolivia, Chile. All these countries, ultimately, people that they are from an extracontinental, country, Nigeria, Ghana, Middle Eastern countries, they need to come in documented differently. They're not in this international agreement. So we're gonna wait for the bus. That's the thing that I want to show. How their inspection in buses, how the authorities are doing a great job on the most human way to treat people and to ultimately inspection every single individual that they're coming in. It is, in a way, for me, it is kind of a surprise the way that they're doing their job. But because a lot of bad talk has been about the Guatemala government, how they don't handle people correctly, and also how they don't are humanly treating people. The Guatemala government has been one of the ones that has contained a lot of irregular migration, and also has been one of the governments that has been strongly about securing their border. Although they are a small country in comparison to Mexico and the United States, they are a sovereign nation, and they are doing their job right now. As you see, this bus has stopped at another inspection point that is Honduras over there, the Honduras government, and then they come down of the bus and they go to that right side place where they are being inspected. La mayoría nomás va en tránsito, ¿verdad? No va para allá a Estados Unidos. Sí, nomás dicen que van en tránsito. So this is how the mass migration from Nicaraguan people, is debatable. We don't know if they're actually just visiting Guatemala or if they are actually trying to go to the United States of America. We don't know that. The reason why is because of this international agreement. There's no gap between saying you're going to stay here for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. There's no gap on that. That's one of the loopholes that this agreement has in terms to how they treating the immigration system. Let me see. I'm going to hop in with the officer to see how he inspections and he's given me the opportunity. They're really nice officers, as he is showing their identification right here. Buenas. And he's inspectioning every, as you see, the National Police. There you go. There you go. And that's how he inspected a bus inside of in this inspection point. There's a question: was the bus empty of peeps? The people that they are right there waiting to enter the country, they were pulled down from the bus, and ultimately they are right now walking into the country of Guatemala. You see the authorities checking their documents. So we're going to finish this broadcast in a few moments. As more buses and more people are coming in. These are migrants from Nicaragua, but I'm going to start asking questions right now of where they're going and where they want to go. So let us just see if they want to talk. Some of the people, they're just traveling. Somebody's saying, appears they don't check bags for drugs or check terrorist watch lists. There's another inspection point that there's over there in Honduras. There's another process over there, and that between two countries. Every country has different process. So that is in your country of the United States. Although in your country of the United States, 5 million people have entered irregularly through a non-port of entry. See how let's go right here to the limit. I'm in Honduras practically. Let's go to this side right here. Look at the line of customs right here between Honduras and Guatemala. So let's just ask right here some gentlemen. Where they're going. Let us just ask if they want to talk. A lot of them, they really do not want to talk. And these are people that some of them are from Honduras, Nicaragua. They're transiting only to Guatemala just to visit. ¿Qué tal? ¿Eres de Honduras o de Nicaragua? Nicaragua. Nicaragua. Sí, sí. ¿A dónde te diriges? ¿Hacia dónde? Guatemala. Mande. Estados Unidos. No. Muy bien. We're seeing right here that they don't want to talk. A lot of them, they don't want to talk, and I understand them that they don't want to talk. That's their right to not be interviewed. But this is how a international transitative program functions. So thank you so much for joining in. Let me just, I'm gonna finish the broadcast right here. Finish the broadcast for every single one of you. No. Hey. Thank you for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for Border Network News, correspondent for Real America's Voices and the Wendy Bell Radio Network. There's a discrepancy about how they are migrating through this particular port of entry. And we're talking about migrants from Nicaragua. There's an agreement that is called CA-4. This agreement was made in 2006. A lot of us and a lot of you did not know about this agreement. And it's a freedom of transit. I knew that there was an international agreement of freedom of transit, but I did not know how it worked. Now I'm seeing how it works. And the way that it works is that you show your identification or your passport into an international port of entry and you enter the other brother country or neighborly country. This international agreement was done by El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. All these countries, their freedom of transit, it is wide open. So they can transit only by showing their identification and entering another country. This is why mass migrations were happening by Honduras entering Guatemala, entering ultimately with showing their identification. But they were having a big confrontation with Mexico because Mexico is not in this international agreement. And, you know, Mexico has another process. In terms of Central America, this is their process. Their process is just show their identification and let them pass into another country. The most important thing is to know that because of these international agreements, some of the people, they can use it as a loophole to just show your identification coming in from whatever country in Central America and move yourself forward with the ideology that possibly you want to go to the United States or possibly you just want to visit another country. There can be that possibility. It's on a balance to say we cannot judge people just by walking into another country with their own international agreement. It is their right to transit into their countries. If they want to go to Mexico, there's a specific permit and ultimately a process. And by that, if they want to go to the United States, you know what is happening in the borders of the United States. But ultimately, this is so important for us to know that there's an international freedom of transit agreement that is called CA-4 in these countries. And that is why you see a lot of transitated migration through Central America. In terms of South American countries, they need to enter differently. There's a process for them that it takes a little while. There's two forms of application that they need to fill out. And then later on, they need to be approved by an immigration officer. And then ultimately after that, you will have an agreement to say, I will give it to you or not. And you will let you transit into another country. And so and so and so. It just recently happened in the other port of entry that is called Aguacaliente, where we were at, where migrants from South America, from Venezuela, they were entering Honduras and entering Guatemala. And in Guatemala, they were being stopped and returned to Honduras so they can do their process in immigration correctly and document with a double format. That double format, it is information for you to enter another country as a foreigner, not in this international agreement that is like Central America. South American countries, Bolivia, Peru, Panama, Costa Rica, Venezuela, Ecuador, Colombia, Chile, all these countries are in South America. Also extracontinental countries, Haiti, Cuba, countries in Europe, Middle Eastern and Asian countries, they need to fill out those two forms of application to enter every Central American country that practically it is under the same immigration law, practically under the same immigration standards. So it is really important that we emphasize on that, because this migration that we're seeing today, it can be emphasized in two ways. It can be taken into they're migrating to visit or they're migrating ultimately to stay. It can easily be diverse into what is happening also with Mexico and the United States. When a lot of Mexicans, they go into the United States and sometimes they don't come back, they stay. Or a lot of people that they're migrating into the United States with a tourist visa, they enter and they don't come out. also ultimately migrants that they enter on a process, on a work visa, and they never come back. It is exactly like that. It's almost the same hypothetical example, but it's almost the same as this situation right here. That you can say, you know, I can transit to another country, show my ID, show my permit, but I don't want to come back. So I can stay there. And from there, you move forward to another and another and another. I can consider it a loophole of immigration in terms of these international agreements, because from here, there's no loophole. There's no detention into entering Mexico. The only thing that is interfering from entering Mexico, it is a barrier of an immigration law that is broken right now in Mexico, and that it has suffered a lot of consequences in terms to this massive migration that is happening. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for Border Network News, correspondent for Real America's Voice News and the Wendy Bell Radio Network. Be sure to be tuning in into Real America's Voice News. We're going to do a couple of hits today. One we're going to do with Mr. Steve Bannon in the War Room. The other one with later on this afternoon, possibly with Miss Dr. Gina. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Stay safe, and like we always say, follow my partner, Real Anthony Aguero, Ben Berquan, Real America's Voice News, Wendy Bell Radio Network. Download the app. Also follow all the people that they're covering, the situation at the border, the people that you trust with information. God bless you all. Stay safe. We'll see each other in the next one.